Okay, in the last lecture, we drew this drawing 1.1, and I showed you how to draw this and how to make the sketch fully defined, paying special attention to where the origin is, which you can see over here with my mouse pointer. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next exercise, drawing 1.3. I actually suggest that you get a copy of this drawing in front of you. If you haven't already, if you don't have it in your study guide, then print it out for me, please, so that you can just see all the dimensions and where I'm going with this. Because I have a copy of this in front of me, I'm not going to necessarily refer back to this all the time. With that out the way, what we're going to do here is we need to split up this exercise into a couple of different steps. Now, what I'm going to do is I've noted that the origin is over here. Okay, so the origin is in the bottom right-hand corner of this part. So I'm actually going to start with drawing this base, this square, on the top view. And now there are a whole bunch of different ways you can draw this. You can also start on the front plane and draw it extruded towards the back, or you can start at the front. I'm going to start on the top for this one, but like I said, there's many ways that we can do this. Perhaps even drawing it on the right plane or on the front plane might be easier, but nevertheless, I'm going to take the approach from the top plane. I'm going to start off by looking at this top view over here, and I'm going to draw a square of 100 by 100, and then I'm going to extrude it by 125, which is the height. Then I will cut this piece away over there. I'm going to cut that through all. Then I'm going to cut the circle through all. Then I will round off this. You round this off using the fillet tool. And then lastly, I'm going to extrude this round piece over there. We're going to extrude that on the bottom and cut away this hole. So let's get started. I'm going to start a new drawing over here. And we're going to start it from the top view, like I said. So top plane, sketch. And I'm going to start by drawing a square. And we're going to make this square 100 by 100. Okay, remember, you need to put these dimensions in to make the sketch fully defined. Now we're going to extrude this. Features, extrude. And we extrude it, whoops, wrong way there, by 125. Alright, so now if I put this into isometric, alright, I can see that my origin is already in the correct place. Now it's quite important to make sure that you've extruded in the correct direction, sort of from step one, to make sure that the thing isn't lying on its side, on its top. And remember, if you're designing this yourself, the position of the origin is not going to be that important. It's just important for this subject because that's how I check your values, by checking your mass, your volume, and your center of mass. But I think a bit more on that later. So now I want to draw on this face. So I select the face and I click on sketch over there. And now I'm going to go to normal 2. Normal 2 can be found here. If you don't see this toolbar, the different views, you can go view, toolbars, and you can switch it on here. I think it's views. No, it's not that views. There, standard views. You select that and then you will see this toolbar there. So I'm going to click on normal 2. You can also get to this by pressing the space bar. There's the normal 2. Or if you really want to be fancy, you can press Control and space, and that's going to give you this sweet looking cube over here. We can actually select the face that you want to look at. But either way is fine. So now we draw a rectangle on this face. Remember, I've already selected the face that I'm going to draw on. Now I know that the dimension from this edge to here is 25. So I'm going to make it 25, and the same on the other side. From there, that edge to there, 25. And we know from this edge to the bottom is also 25. Now, please note over here, if you want to do a cut extrude, you can't just draw 3 lines, 1, 2, 3, because otherwise it's going to cut extrude a thin feature through this thing, and that's not what we want in this situation. We'll probably talk about thin features a little bit later too. But what we do here is it has to be a closed entity. In other words, what I mean by closed entity is this is a shape 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. So it has to be a shape if we're going to cut extruded through there. Otherwise, certain features get disabled if it's a thin feature cut. But we'll talk about thin features a bit later. So we're going to cut this, and it's going to be a blind through all extrusion. Okay, and remember, I'm not sure if I've spoken about it before in these videos, but these settings over here are very important because we need to consider our design intent. The question we need to ask ourselves is, do we always want this thing to cut through all? If the answer is yes, then we're going to select through all. If we want to go cut a certain depth, if you remember correctly from the last one, we're going to select blind. We'll talk about the rest of these features a bit more later on, but for now we're just going to select through all and click tick. Alright, so now I've got the basic part of this yoke. If we have a look at the drawing, okay, we've got this basic shape over here. The next step I'm going to do is I'm going to round off this, the top of the yoke. Now, there's a couple of ways to do this as well, but the way I think is probably the easiest is to use the fillet tool, and we're going to do a full round fillet. It's called a full round fillet, and what a full round fillet needs is it needs 3 faces, and they have to be consecutive, they have to be in order. So this would be face number 1, this would be face number 2, and if we rotate around, we can click on face number 3. And remember, you can rotate the drawing by clicking on the middle scroll bar. Okay, so there we go, and we click the tick, and now we have a full round fillet on that face. And we're going to do the same for this side. So click on the one face, click on the second face, and click on the third face. All right, and you can see there is a preview there. If there's no preview, you can actually just turn it on over here. Partial preview or no preview. Sometimes no preview is selected, but we want to see a full preview. It just helps over there, and we click the tick. There we are. Alright, now what we want to do is we want to cut a hole through all again. So we're going to select this face, click on sketch, normal 2, and click on the circle. Okay, and now what I've done here is I hovered the mouse over the radius of the circle because I want to see the center point. Because I want this circle that I'm going to draw now needs to be concentric with this big one. So I click on the middle, bonding this circle to the center point. Okay, click again for the outside, and this is 50. Diameter is 50. Okay, let's just put that into isometric quickly. Features, extrude cut, and again we're going to go to through all. Okay, and there is our hole going through all. Next, I want to draw underneath here. So rotate the drawing, click sketch on the bottom face, and I click normal 2. Now this one we can do in one of 2 ways. Either we can draw the circle and the inside part, because this little piece does not go through all. If you have a look here, this piece over here does not go through all. Otherwise we would see hidden detail lines going all the way through up to that surface. So we can actually draw this circle, these 2 circles in one step, which is pretty cool. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now what I'm going to do here is there's one of 2 ways in which we can actually get the circle to be in the center. The first way is we can draw the circle, draw them the 2 concentric, and we know the base is 100 by 100. So we make this 50 from the side, 50, and 50 from that side. Okay, that would be fine. But again, the problem here lies with our design intent. We need to ask ourselves, do we always want this circle to be in the center? And if the answer is yes, then instead of using this 50 and 50, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here. Alright, there we go, it's fully defined. Instead of using this 50 and that 50, the real way we should do it is by actually drawing center lines on the base here. And we can draw a center line from the midpoint of that line to the midpoint of that line. That means this line will always stay in the middle of this thing. And the same over here. From here, right down to the midpoint of that line. Right? If we have a look now, you'll see that, whoopsie, our 2 center lines should be fully defined. Right? But our circle is not yet, because we need to merge that point of the circle onto the center lines. So what we do is Press and hold Control, but you should know this from relations. Press and hold Control, click on there, and we're going to say coincident, right? Click the tick, and again, to add a relation between that line and this point, make it coincident. If you remember correctly, coincident means on top of. And now we can extrude this. Features, extrude. Right, let's turn that around a bit. And the height, very much easier if we just made it isometric. The height of that is 50 millimeters. 50. Click the tick. Alright, and there we have it. There is exercise number 1.3.